Emmanuel Macron has come under attack from a furious Frexiteer who has claimed he has never stopped lying to the French people as he faces a titanic battle to win the crunch presidential election. The EU figurehead had been expected to enjoy a comfortable victory in the upcoming election and repeat his victory over right-wing rival Marine Le Pen from May 2017. But he goes into Sunday's opening round of voting with his same political arch-rival having quickly closed the gap in the latest polls. In France, Macron has been plagued by voter anger in recent months, including appalling protests against his policies and growing concerns about the economy and the cost-of-living crisis. Eric Noyres, a prominent Frexiteer and part of the Generation Frexit campaign for France to leave the European Union, has launched a furious attack against the French president. He told in an explosive interview, Macron has followed the path of his predecessors by continuing to destroy public services, and in particular hospitals, with the closure of 18,000 beds during his 5-year term, despite the COVID pandemic. He has tirelessly scorned democratic expression, trampled on the values of the country, liberty, equality, fraternity. He has pursued, as much as he can, the transfers of sovereignty to give more and more power to the European Union and to the Brussels Commission, with objectively harmful effects for a France that has become incapable of defending its interests, the COVID crisis having been the most blatant example. Mr. Noyres continued, he has never stopped lying to the French, and has kept almost none of his electoral promises. For example, he has made France's debt explode, placing it in a particularly vulnerable situation, especially since at the same time, France has seen its trade balance reach a record deficit. Mr. Macron is seeing France coming under huge economic pressure that had rarely been seen during his presidency until recent months. In the year before he became leader in 2016, France's national debt amounted to 98% of gross domestic product, GDP. But this has been on a steady rise since and exploded to an eye-watering 115% of GDP in 2020. France also posted a record trade deficit in goods last year, which hit £70.5 billion, €84.7 billion, an equivalent to 3.4% of economic output. To add to the economic and cost of living fears, the energy import bill swelled to a massive £35.9 billion, €43.1 billion. In December alone, the trade gap ballooned to more than £9.2 billion, €11 billion, in the biggest monthly shortfall between exports and imports since French customs records began in 1970. French inflation surged past 5% last month, significantly up from 4.2% recorded in February, while last month, French consumer confidence plunged to its lowest level in more than a year. The French president has also sparked fury among older voters by vowing to push up the retirement age from 62 years to 65. The early part of Mr. Macron's presidency was dominated by the Yellow Vests protests, the weekly demonstration that began in November 2018 and often saw protesters violently clash with police and vandalize structures. This was initially motivated by surging crude oil and fuel prices, the high cost of living and economic equality, with furious protesters claiming a disproportionate burden of taxation in France was falling on the working and middle classes.